Hi, Dr. Lori here. I've got your questions, I've got my answers, and we're going to see what we can learn. All the questions come from, of course, you can ask your questions. They come from Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and, of course, in the comments here on YouTube. So if you got a question, post it here and it might end up here on the videos. Okay, so I'm going to answer your questions. I always start with a different bowl. So here's the bowl for today. It's a Lindt Stymeist bowl made in Japan. This bowl dates to the early years of the 1990s. Yes, people, the 1990s are getting to be vintage, right? I mean, it seems like yesterday, but early 1990s, colorways is the name of the pattern, bright colors and such. Let's see what the bowl has in terms of questions. Here we go. So, hi, Dr. Lori. You appraised a Michel Delacroix at $250 for me, but I've seen an original signed print by him priced much higher. Could you clarify for me why my serigraph would be priced so much lower? Well, here's the first problem you have. You've totally misidentified what you have. You've totally misidentified what you have. First of all, you said it's an original signed print. No print is original, and basically the fact that it's signed, okay, the signature is one of a kind because the artist signed each piece of paper himself, but if it's an original, then that means there's only one. It's an original, one of a kind, unique, if you will. All right, so you don't have that. The other thing is, the reason why I put a $250 value on your particular piece is because you think your piece is a serigraph, but your piece is actually a collotype. So a serigraph has a value up here, which is what you're comparing, right, to your collotype, which has a value down here. So you've got the print wrong. So this is what the problem is with a lot of folks with respect to prints. You all have a lot of prints. I have video after video of prints to show you so you understand that print is an umbrella term, right? And then all the different types of prints go underneath that. I'll teach you that somewhere else. But basically, what I want you to understand is that if it says original, then that's a one of a kind. That's a painting. That's not usually a print. A print is a reproduction, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like all the dominoes kind of thing. Reproduce things right off the machine reproduced. So that particular piece is worth about $250 because it's a major artist and his signature is actually on the particular print. But if you had an original work of art, it would be worth way more than the $1,000 serigraph. The serigraph actually ends up in the middle of the original work of art. I had a person at my event, one of my events, who had an original work of art who kept calling it a picture, right? It's a picture, it's a picture, it's a picture, Dr. Lori. Well, you know what? Remember, when it comes to this, everything's a picture, everything's an image, and then it falls into other categories. Do you have an original work of art? Do you have a print? Do you have a lithograph? Whatever it might be. So get the vocab right, people. Don't be like the guys on Antiques Roadshow who are talking about patina, and they're getting this wrong all the time. Oh, the patina is the oily buildup on wood. The patina is not the oily buildup on wood. Patina is an application of color onto a piece of metal sculpture, right? Not the oily buildup on wood. That's a mistake like when your doctor says, I'm going to do bypass surgery on your femur, You don't want your cardiologist talking about your femur because bypass surgery has to happen on your heart. So go easy on the vocabulary. Let's get it right. Let's get it right. Let's see. Remember what's an original and what's not. Like me, I'm an original, All right, what's next? Hi, Dr. Lori, I hear you're a Capricorn. Is that true? When are you born? Oh, well, that's nice. I'm born January 11th. I'm a Capricorn. And Capricorn women tend to be stubborn and smart. They can tend to hold things close to the vest, right? And it takes a long, long time for me, I can only speak for myself, it takes a long, long time for me to actually, if something's bothering me, for me to give it up and say, oh yeah, well that really did bother me. Things fester a long time with me. But Capricorn are also very loyal. So if I'm your friend, I'm a good friend. So that's a good thing too. And I hope you're all my good friends too. I almost just touched my microphone there, and they always tell me try not to, touch your microphone. So, you'll notice my earrings, I always have my jewelry on, but I had to take off my necklace, which matches. So I want to show you the match. See the match? I love jewelry. I had to take off my necklace because otherwise the microphone would get in the way and then you'd hear all this clicking and stuff and then you'd say, oh, Dr. Lori, you're clicking. I know. So anyway, basically you have to be careful when you're doing a lot of videos because I like to talk with my hands and I end up in this neck of the woods, so I have to be careful of the audio. But you can hear the audio. I'm loud and you know how it goes. All right. Next question. Back to questions. Sorry. I'm afraid to remove anything from my antique framed artwork. I thought it might be helpful to date the piece, but maybe it doesn't matter. Okay, here's what does matter. If your piece has acidic cardboard, acidic backboard, or if your piece has an acidic mat, or if your piece has any kind of water damage, and you know what water damage looks like. I get these pictures. You're sending me these pictures. I ask for the front, I ask for the back, I ask for a signature or marking. And what happens? Well, basically what happens is I'm looking at the back, and the back has all water damage. You can see where the water line was. You know, like when you have a flood. Remember the flood? I was in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, in the governor's mansion, and they had a line of where the flood was, right, on the Susquehanna River, and they had this line of where it was like 5.5 feet or something. It was almost as tall as me. I'm 5'6.5" or so. I'm a little bit taller if I get thinner. You know how that is. Anyway, so all the way up that line of where the flood is. I see these on your works of art, and then you say, oh, I don't want to touch the backboard, I don't want to reframe it, I'm afraid because it's part of the piece. You have to reframe that. You have to reframe it. If you don't reframe it, that water is going to soak into the cardboard. Cardboard's bad to start. And then what's going to happen is it's going to just grow mold, and mold's going to grow like weeds. I mean, it's going to grow. So you've got to make sure that you don't keep those pieces. If you can, make sure that you actually take off carefully the backboard. You can throw it away. You're not going to damage anything. You're not going to lose value, none of that. Make sure the frame is intact. The frame, the wooden frame or the metal frame, make sure you keep that with your artwork. But if you need new insides, right, new guts, as they say, if you need a new backboard, which should be foam core, if you need a new mat board, it should be acid-free, cotton, museum quality, archival, all those buzzwords, go get those. Okay, next. Let's see. No. So this person says, I was at the shipping and mailing stores shipping something out that I sold. Someone said it's very common for online buyers to claim damage, to get their money back, and then return the item as well. Is this true? Have you heard that? Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard a lot of horror stories. And this is how you have to protect yourself from those people who basically are just saying, oh, you know what? Yeah, I bought this off your eBay store, off your Etsy store, but now, you know what? I never got it. Now, it's damaged. Oh, it got here and, you didn't send it to the right place and, it got taken away from my porch. All kinds of nonsense. They're liars. What can I say? They're liars. Basically what they're doing is they're saying, oh yeah, and then they want their money back. So now you've lost your time, you've lost the item, you've lost a refund, probably a charge on your refund, from whatever your processor is. I mean, it's a mess. So yes, this is a problem because there are people out there who are doing this kind of stuff for sport. So you have to protect yourself. Oh, well, Dr. Lori, how do I protect myself? What am I going to do? Well, once in a while, yeah, you're going to hit that person who really doesn't have your best interest at heart or who is basically a fraud or a thief. That's going to happen, unfortunately. But you've got to document what you've got. You've got to get the insurance. You've got to basically tell them, look, here's my photograph of my piece as it was going in the box. Here's the materials that I used. I got the insurance. I went through all the steps that I was supposed to go through. Now, what do I do to get my claim? What do I do to stop this? Go on social media and talk about this person. Say it. Hey, this isn't right that this particular person with this particular username actually did this. I know that piece got there. I know it was in good shape according to the shipper. Right? So you really have to try to protect yourself. Best way to protect yourself, document it with photography, with images, right? How that piece looked when it got into the box and how that box looked when it got shipped from you. Next question. Dr. Lori, people say there's a lot of misinformation out there. Have you experienced this? Well, have I experienced this? Wikipedia is not my favorite, and I'll tell you why it's not my favorite. Because, in fact, well, it sounds good. I think it has a great name, and it has a great idea, a good premise. Everybody sort of adds to it. But, the real problem is my Wikipedia page has been wrong many times. and my staff goes in and they, update it and they get the correct information. But my Wikipedia page at one point had said that I have a Ph.D. in sports medicine. Now, do I look like I play soccer? Do I look like you want me in your locker room, with the trainers and the coaches? Not probably, right? I'm not and never have been a sports medicine doctor. But there's probably a Dr. Lori Verderame out there who has some background in sports medicine. It's not me. My PhD is in art history, art and architectural history to be specific, with a focus on museum studies, which is how I know all about antiques. So people are like, Wikipedia is one of those things. And the reason why this comes to mind is because, are you watching Netflix? Are you watching all of these? You've got your streaming services and stuff. Well, I was watching Netflix and I'm trying to catch up on all these shows that I haven't watched in years. And one of my sisters said, oh, you should really try to watch Newsroom. So I was watching Newsroom, right? And Newsroom is funny to me because the main character, Jeff Daniels, looks just like a friend of mine from high school. Okay, I digress. Anyway, so I'm watching Newsroom and one of the characters has an information about her that's important to her on her Wikipedia page that got her alma mater incorrect. So they said that she was from Oxford when in fact she went to Cambridge, and she's a little ticked off, and I would be too. Because, you get to the point where you're just like, why don't these people let me update my Wikipedia page? I know me better than other people. Like, I know I went to Hampton High School and I graduated when I graduated in 1983. I know, where I went to school and what my degrees were in. It cracks me up when all of you people are saying, Dr. Lori, that's not what your degree is in. Do you think I don't know what my degree is in? I mean, come on. The other thing that's interesting to me is how these folks are going to know more because they took information from some website that's also incorrect. So you got to really be careful about misinformation. And when it comes to identifying art, antiques, and collectibles, you have to know your source. You're comparing somebody like me to somebody else. You don't want to if you need a sports medicine doctor, you don't want me. Okay, if you're looking for a sports medicine doctor, well, guess what? You need to find that other Dr. Lori Verderame, right? So you've got to know the source, and you've got to consider the source, and you have to compare the same way you compare prices about, that vintage toy to this vintage toy, and can I find that bargain if I'm looking for Bohemian crystal or something? You've got to do the same thing with comparing sources. You can't just assume just because somebody's online they know what's going on. It's the same thing with people who are giving you appraised values. It's the same thing of people who are, making YouTube videos as if they're experts. You really have to do that. So yes, I'm sorry, there's a lot of misinformation online, but I'll tell you the truth, and I tell it to you straight, and I'll tell it to you with a little bit of a chuckle too. Next question. Dr. Lori, what does bone china mean? I have a mark on a plate that says bone china. Does that mean that they use human bones? Can you explain? Yes, I can explain. When it comes to marking china, ceramics in fact, there are different types of marks. You've probably seen a million of these marks. And there are usually some words that go along with the marks. Maybe it says Limoges, which is actually a place. Maybe it says Haviland, which is actually a maker. Maybe it says Tiffany, which is actually a distributor. If it says semi-vitreous, if it says bone china, that means that bone ash is put into the mix of the clay. Feldspar, kaolin, or some of the materials that you will see in clay or ceramic, right? Bone ash would be added. Same thing as when you see porcelain. It has different actual materials, traits, characteristics, requirements before it's put into a kiln and fired and then glazed like the bowl over here. So you want to think about those types of things. So usually if you see bone china, it has feldspar, it has kaolin, and it also has bone ash. So that's what you see if you see the terms bone china. Bone china, earthenware, ceramic, porcelain, and such are related, but not all that similar. Okay, next question. Good questions. Good questions today. Let's see, what else have we got? Hi, Dr. Lori. What do you think of those apps that identify art and antiques? I have an app that identifies art and antiques, and I'm thinking about using it. All right. Well, I have to tell you that I have a relatively personal relationship with this particular question because I was just on a video call with a client who said, oh, Dr. Lori, I really want you to look at this piece. I already identified it with my app that identifies art and antiques. And when I put it there, they told me, the app told me that it's from the Victorian era. So that would make it from about 1890, he said. I said, okay, well, let me see the work of art and let's see if the app is right. Well, the app was wrong. The app was not even close, okay? That particular work of art that he had shown to the app, and they said it was from 1890, was actually from about 1790, 1800. It was almost 100 years off, okay? The kicker, the app missed that particular work of art because it was a very famous work of art. So you would think that the famous ones are in that database already, right? This particular work of art, 100 years off. So, you know, remember, you still have to see whether or not these particular tricks, these particular tools are going to really be helpful. You know, I don't know, you know, if you're trying to paint your mother's porch, my mother used to have me painting the porch all the time. All the time, every couple of weeks, we're painting that porch, the floor of the porch. She always liked it to be painted. She didn't really do it that much, but we were always painting the porch. And I remember one night when I'm painting the porch, how did I get on the porch now? I forgot. Well, anyway, but basically, one night I remember I was painting the porch and they were having dinner and she's like, oh, I forgot you were out there. I'm like, hey, Ma, you know? But anyway, the reason why I'm saying that is you have to think about the way in which these particular types of things are actually being used. So if you're going to paint the porch and you're going to use the right tool, you know, you want to make sure you're using the right tool. So do that, whether you're painting the porch or you're using an app to identify a painting. But those video apps, those apps that relate to identification, make sure you got it right. If they can't recognize a fine, important, very well-known work of art, maybe they're not going to help you identify that piece that you found in the storage locker, the thrift store, or the flea market. Next question. Let's see where we are. What have we got here? Yeah, I remember painting the porch. Oh, I found a painting that I want to buy, Dr. Lori, but I can't figure out the signature of the artist. What can I do? I'm so confused. Where can I get help to know before I buy? All right, before you buy. So you're online and you're searching and you're looking for these pieces and you're saying, hey, you know what? How do I actually identify this piece? How do I know if I should buy it? I don't know this artist's name, right? Or I don't know the letters, right? In another video, I'm going to teach you about how you can actually identify these particular unknown signatures. But also what you should do is you should research prior to buying. So if you're looking at an online auction or if you're looking at, I don't know, Goodwill.com or Ruby Lane or wherever you're looking, eBay, Etsy, whatever, I want you to make sure that you do some research. Don't assume that the seller knows what they're talking about. Don't assume that the seller knows what they're talking about. They may try as they might to do it right, but they may not get it right, you know? I just had a client who had a poker chip and he identified this poker chip as being from a casino in Chicago when it was actually from a casino in Las Vegas, and that changed the value very, very much. So if you're going to buy that poker chip or that painting or whatever it is, and you can't identify the artist and you're not sure about the artist's signature, then you really have to do some research about that particular work. So now you're going, well, I do it by the signature, Dr. Lori. I just type in the name. I type in the name. What do I do if there's no name? That's right. What do you do if there's no name? This is where I have job security. And all of you are going, oh, Dr. Lori, I can't believe you. Well, believe it. Here's what you need to do if you don't have the name to work on and the signature is, you know, scribbled and you can't read it, you know, pain in the neck. Here's what you need to do. Look at the size of the piece. Try to identify where the piece might have been made. Try to identify the date of the piece. Try to identify the type, style, or medium of the piece. Is it oil? Is it acrylic? Is it something else, right? Try to basically look at the subject matter. You know, is it people in fields like, you know, taking up crops? Or is it, you know, society ladies? What is it? And try to search that way. Don't only rely on the signature because the signatures can be forged. And even if it's not forged, if you can't read it, you can't identify it. So those are some of your questions. I hope my answers have been clear and helpful. And of course, if you have any questions, post them right here in the comments section and they might end up right here on the video. I'm Dr. Lori. Thanks so much for watching.